don't forget to like and subscribe. Many individuals vanish under circumstances that defy explanation, and often it seems as if the wilderness itself conspires to hide them. Consider the strange phenomenon where a group is chasing a dog into the wild, only for one of them to suddenly disappear without warning. In a seemingly unrelated yet equally baffling twist, those who are later found bear peculiar signs. Missing shoes or other personal items are a common thread. Every year, in the untamed regions of North America, hundreds of people are reported missing under mysterious conditions. Investigative journalist and ex-detective David Paulides has devoted years to uncovering the truth behind these disappearances. His extensive research suggests that these individuals do not vanish in the manner one might expect. Rather than leaving behind obvious clues, many disappearances occur right in front of the eyes of their friends and family, as if they are taken in broad daylight by forces unseen. Even sniffer dogs, typically so reliable, often fail to pick up a scent, instead being found whimpering and walking in confused circles. Meanwhile, park rangers and other authorities, although highly trained and professional, seem unusually reluctant to speak openly about the incidents, almost as if they are aware of a deeper, more inexplicable phenomenon but wish to avoid causing widespread panic. Unusual weather patterns have also been noted to emerge almost immediately after someone goes missing, as if nature itself is intervening to cover up any trace of the person. In many cases, when the unfortunate victims are later discovered dead, they are found in locations that had already been meticulously combed by search and rescue teams. In other instances, the bodies are recovered from areas of extreme elevation where it is difficult to fathom how a person, especially a child, could have ascended on their own. Experts and investigators alike are left scratching their heads, trying to piece together a puzzle where every element seems deliberately arranged to misdirect and confound any conventional explanation. In a recurring and eerie detail, items of clothing are often discovered either missing or in a bizarre state of disarray. Shoes tend to vanish completely while socks, often pristine, are left behind or inexplicably tucked away. One of the earliest and most chilling cases was that of 5-year-old Jerry Hayes. On November 10, 1938, Jerry went missing in Rucker Canyon, a secluded area nestled in the rugged Chiricahua Mountains of Arizona at an elevation between 6,000 and 7,500 feet. Jerry, who suffered from rheumatism, a condition that causes painful inflammation and stiffness in the joints, was known to be particularly frail and dependent on the close support of his family. He was with his loved ones and a group of family friends on a hunting and camping trip when, during a walk through a dense forest, he suddenly vanished. Even though Jerry had remained close to his family throughout the outing, positioned at the very end of the line, he inexplicably disappeared. There were no screams, no cries for help, and no signs of a struggle to indicate that anything had gone wrong. As panic spread, his family launched a frantic search of both the immediate area and the route they had just traveled. When nothing was found, they alerted the county sheriff, who then organized a massive, coordinated search effort. Within 10 days, over 1,000 searchers combed every inch of the canyon, yet all efforts proved fruitless. The canyon's very nature, a box canyon enclosed by high, impassable mountains with only one entry and exit point, meant that the family's chosen path had been thoroughly investigated. This led the sheriff to the baffling conclusion that the boy must still be hidden somewhere within the canyon. Despite all the evidence suggesting that Jerry, who was normally always by his side, could not have wandered off, the intensive search that lasted over a week turned up no trace of him. Then, on November 19, 1938, 9 days after his disappearance, a breakthrough came. A group of searchers, straying accidentally from their established grid, noticed faint tracks leading uphill on one of the mountains. These small, ambiguous tracks, found on a steep hillside about 1,000 feet above the canyon floor and 4.5 miles from where he had vanished, eventually led them to Jerry's body. He was discovered lying face down, with his shoes and socks missing, his coat nowhere to be seen, and no logical explanation as to how he had ended up so far from the family's trail. The temperature had been hovering near freezing, and the coroner later concluded that Jerry had died of exposure. Yet the mystery deepened. Why would a frail child remove his shoes and socks in such treacherous terrain, and where had his coat vanished to? A similarly perplexing case involved 19-year-old Chuck McCullough, an avid photographer and experienced hiker. In 1974, Chuck made the bold decision to leave behind the comforts of his home state of Virginia and set out on an extended adventure. Determined to capture the beauty of the natural world, he deliberately left his camper van behind. By late January 1975, Chuck had reached Eugene, Oregon, where he had been staying with a friend for several weeks. With a sense of purpose, he embarked on a solo hitchhiking journey toward Crater Lake National Park, intent on taking breathtaking winter photos. Chuck had managed to reach the area near Diamond Lake, and several witnesses even reported sightings of him there. It was widely assumed that he planned to traverse a less-traveled northern route to Crater Lake. However, the region had recently been blanketed by heavy snowfall, over 5 feet in some places, with the snow described as soft and powdery, causing even experienced cross-country skiers to sink waist-deep. In these perilous conditions, Chuck vanished without a trace. Following his disappearance, his distraught father hurried to Oregon and, along with search and rescue teams, launched an intensive search operation that stretched over months. Despite covering vast tracts of land and scouring areas that should have been within his reach, not a single clue was found. Then, toward the end of 1976 on October 13, a bizarre twist occurred. 2 Texan hikers, having lost their way in a remote canyon within a sphagnum bog area of Crater Lake National Park, stumbled upon an old, torn backpack. Park rangers, led by officers Larry Smith and Marion Jack, quickly mobilized, mounting their horses and setting out to investigate the area. Their search eventually yielded the skeletal remains of Chuck McCullough. In a scene that defied logic, Chuck's shoes were nowhere to be found. He was left wearing only his socks. His leg bones, oddly, were still encased in the socks, while his jeans were found unbuttoned and his belts left undone. Even more strangely, the rest of his clothing, including his coat and shirt, had vanished as if they had melted away into the thin mountain air. The crown of his skull was found nearby, but his boots and essential photographic equipment were completely missing. In an additional perplexing detail, prior to his disappearance, a local store clerk recalled that Chuck had been noticeably upset and had purchased a needle and thread to repair a tear in his coat. There was no involvement of a snowmobile or any other vehicle. He was entirely on foot. The official explanation that he died of natural causes now seems increasingly implausible, and many questions about the precise circumstances of his fate remain unanswered. Another unsettling incident occurred on March 14, 2014, when Dr. James McCracken and 3 of his friends set off on a hike along a populated trail outside Vail, Colorado. Their objective was clear: reach Eisman-Hertz, a popular lodging spot, by 10 a.m. The group had been hiking for approximately an hour and a half when they decided to take a brief break. Dr. McCracken, who was in excellent physical shape and well known for running marathons, assured his friends that he would catch up with them at the next stop. Confident in his abilities and well prepared with a split snowboard, a fully stocked backpack containing extra batteries, a shovel, medical supplies, a GPS device, and protective warm gear, he pressed on alone. However, as the minutes turned to hours, his friends grew increasingly worried when Dr. McCracken did not reappear. Calls for his name echoed through the crisp mountain air, but no response came. By 5:13 p.m., after an exhaustive day-long search, one of the friends set off on a long descent to seek further assistance, while the remaining pair continued searching the area. The Eagle County Sheriff then coordinated a vast search effort that lasted 5 days and involved 3 helicopters scanning 18 square miles of the rugged terrain. Yet, despite these extensive efforts, not a single sign of Dr. McCracken was found. Then, on the sixth day, a severe storm forced the rescuers to halt the operation for safety reasons. In an almost supernatural twist, 20 days after his disappearance, his remains were discovered by a group of hikers in an area 4.5 miles from his last known location, a region that had already been scrutinized by the search teams. Strikingly, despite the freezing temperatures, Dr. McCracken was found without a coat or gloves, and his boots were missing. The coroner later noted that his mobile phone and GPS were still operational, which raises further questions as to why he did not use them to guide his way back. Even more puzzling was the fact that, although he had been wearing a helmet, his body exhibited a severe head injury, significant trauma to the left side of his chest, and a broken femur. How did he manage to traverse 4.5 miles over a mountain in such conditions, and why did he choose to remove his shoes in the first place? These unanswered questions continue to haunt investigators and friends alike. The mysteries extend beyond the borders of the United States. On September 17, 1988, 5-year-old Stephen McCarran was enjoying a family outing with his aunt and uncle in non-clean air, Scotland. They had planned an exciting week-long trip, which included a visit to the popular amusement park, I's Wonder West World. The day began with joy and laughter, but in a heartbeat, everything changed. While playing and having fun, Stephen's attentive aunt and uncle briefly lost sight of him, for what seemed like no more than a minute, and the boy simply vanished. There were no cries for help or sounds of distress. He disappeared as if swallowed by the very ground beneath them. The family immediately began searching the area and alerted park security, who launched one of the largest missing child search efforts in Scotland's history. Hundreds of volunteers, divers, and aerial teams combed the park and an extensive 6-square-mile radius around it, yet even the high-tech equipment failed to detect any heat signature of the missing child. In the days that followed, multiple, often contradictory, eyewitness accounts emerged. One person claimed to have seen Stephen accompanied by a middle-aged man, while another witness reported seeing him climbing over the park's fence. A third observer even described Stephen as wandering dazedly along a nearby road. Although some speculated that a kidnapping might have occurred, there was never any corroborative evidence. Others suggested that the boy had simply run away, a notion quickly dismissed by his family who knew Stephen to be a happy, well-adjusted child who loved his family dearly. Then, on October 2, 1988, Stephen's body was tragically found 6 miles from the park. The coroner stated that there were no signs of violence or injury on the boy and attributed his death to exposure. Yet, one detail remained inexplicable. Stephen's socks were found carefully placed inside his backpack while his shoes were still on his feet. This odd sequence of events, removing his shoes, stashing his socks, then putting his shoes back on, only deepened the mystery. The authorities concluded that no foul play had taken place, but for Stephen's family, the explanation was as unsatisfactory as it was bewildering. Finally, we arrive at the haunting case of 4-year-old Alfred Bale Hartz, who was on a fishing and camping trip with his family at Colorado's Rocky Mountain National Park. While hiking along a river, Alfred was last seen at the back of the group, only to vanish suddenly without any sign of distress. His family, in a state of shock and despair, insisted that he had not strayed near any body of water, yet the authorities speculated that he might have drowned. In response, a thorough search of the river was conducted over a span of 5 days, but it yielded no results. Desperate to find answers, the rescuers then deployed specially trained sniffer dogs. However, even these highly skilled animals became perplexed. They followed a scent for some time before reaching a fork in the trail, where they inexplicably lay down and refused to continue. Adding to the mystery, a couple of hikers, unaware that a child was missing, reported seeing a young boy perched on a high ridge in an area ominously known as the Devil's Nest, located at the top of Mount Chapel. According to the hikers, the boy was seen alone for a brief moment before he was suddenly pulled out of sight, as if by an unseen force. When authorities arrived at the location, they found no trace of Alfred. The rugged, elevated terrain made it almost impossible for a small child to have reached that spot on his own without specialized equipment or assistance, leaving investigators and his family with a profound sense of loss and endless questions. In each of these cases, the individuals seem to vanish into thin air, taken by forces or circumstances that remain utterly inexplicable. The common, haunting detail of missing shoes or oddly arranged clothing only adds to the enigma. These incidents, whether they occur in the rugged canyons of Arizona, the snowy expanses near Crater Lake, the mountainous trails of Colorado, the whimsical yet terrifying amusement parks of Scotland, or the remote wilderness of the Rocky Mountains, share a disturbing similarity, a defiant refusal to yield any logical explanation. For families left behind, the emotional toll is immeasurable. For investigators and experts, the recurring patterns and unanswered questions serve as a chilling reminder of nature's unpredictable and sometimes sinister character. As we examine these baffling cases, one message resonates clearly: always remain vigilant and aware of your surroundings, particularly when children are involved in wilderness excursions. The disappearance of a loved one under such mysterious circumstances leaves behind not only unanswered questions but also deep, lasting scars. What do you think about these cases? Share your thoughts, theories, and any similar experiences you may have encountered. Your feedback is invaluable as we continue to seek understanding in these baffling mysteries. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support. Your kind comments and encouragement have made it possible to produce these in-depth documentaries with high-quality footage that bring these cases to light. I'm even contemplating hosting a live session soon, so please let me know if that interests you. And to my generous patrons, thank you immensely. Your support has enabled me to continue investigating and sharing these perplexing stories. Once again, thank you for watching, for your likes, and for your subscriptions. Stay safe wherever you may be, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Peace.